Mambo Team Africa Worldwide, Habari Ya Asabui, Habari Ya Mchana, Habari Ya Gioni. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's been a couple of weeks, at least two, maybe three, maybe top two, since I have uploaded a video. It's been very, very busy between working my regular job and trying to be an ambassador for Mother Africa. Um, so I actually just walked back into my house from a weekend trip. Um, I had to do with some travelers called a visa run. In Tanzania, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have to you have to buy the multi-entry visa, which lasts for an entire year. However, you still cannot stay in Tanzania more than 90 consecutive days. Um, my 90 days weren't up yet. They were approaching, and I went to immigration, spoke to someone in immigration, and the situation sounded shady, and I didn't trust it. Immigration official told me that I had to wait until the day before my 90 days was up, come back and talk to his boss to get an extension. And the extension could be free, or the extension could be as much as $100 based on uh, how his boss felt about it. I'm the type of person I believe in. Um, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So I would never put my fate in somebody's hands like that. So what I did was I took a weekend trip to Nairobi, Kenya, so I could reset my 90 days. I asked, was that an option at the immigration office? He said that was an option. Um, so I'll tell you about this trip. It was wild. Um, it's only 170 miles from Arusha to Nairobi, which is the exact same distance between Detroit, Michigan, and Cleveland, Ohio. A trip I used to take every weekend at one point. So you would think that this trip would take 2.5 hours, 3 hours max, right? I left on Friday. I came back today, which is Sunday. So I really only spent one full day in Nairobi. Um, so I got picked up from my apartment at 7:30 in the morning on Friday. The bus took off to Arusha about 10 after 8. Um, we had an incident where we got pulled over by the police. The police checked everybody's passports, and then there was a young boy on the bus who was probably about, I don't know, maybe like 14 years old, and he was with an adult, but she was young, so they were speaking in Kiswahili. I'm learning, but my ear is a lot slower than my mouth, so I couldn't catch everything. But I did hear the police officer ask him where was his mama. So I guess he noticed that the woman that he was with was much too young to be his mother. I guess that may have been an older sister or somebody, but um, maybe there's some type of rule. So they took them off the bus, and we're waiting on the side of the road for an hour and a half for them to deal with that situation. They put them back on the bus. So we keep going down. I can't tell how fast the bus is going, but it seems like the bus is not going that fast. I don't know the name of the road from Nairobi to from Arusha to Nairobi, but it's basically a two-lane highway. It's not like an interstate, which we'll be used to in the states. It's not the Ohio Turnpike that I would get on in Toledo, Ohio, to take to Cleveland. There's a big difference where the speed limit is 70 miles per hour, and for a large part of the trip, I might push it to 80 miles an hour. So normally, to get to Cleveland, it would take me 2.5 hours driving from Detroit. If you want, to go all the way to the other side of Cleveland, 3 hours tops. Um, like I said, we pulled off at 8:10 in the morning. By the time we got to Nairobi, it was 3:30 p.m. Okay, now I don't know if anybody knows anything about Nairobi traffic, especially on a Friday evening. But just think Washington, D.C. traffic, plus Atlanta, Georgia traffic, plus Los Angeles, California traffic, all combined into one. That's Nairobi traffic on a Friday evening. So I had to take a COVID test. Oh, let me tell you about that. Like I hadn't been to Kenya yet, due to the fact that they had a rule that you had to have proof of vaccination to enter or exit, but they recently dropped that. All you need is proof of a negative test. So but I also needed proof of a negative. That test that I took in Tanzania would have been expired by the time I got back to Tanzania. So I took another one in Nairobi as soon as I got there. In fact, we were caught in that traffic. I told the bus driver to let me off. I hopped on the boda, which is a motorcycle taxi, for anybody who doesn't know, and went straight to a clinic that I was familiar with that I had used in the past and took care of my COVID test. Then I got a Uber to get to my Airbnb. I was in that traffic for like 3.5 hours. So by the time I got to my Airbnb, it was after 8 p.m. And I left at, and the bus took off at, well, actually, I started my trip. I got picked up from my apartment in Arusha at 7:30 in the morning, and I got to my Airbnb in Nairobi at 8:30 um, and p.m. You know, and this is for a 170-mile trip. Um, so I will talk about politics for a minute. So this is not that I don't that I mind going, you know, from country to country, but it's not always convenient. It's not always cost effective, and I believe as an African American, I should be able to apply for citizenship to the African country of my choice and be given citizenship because unlike other um, African diaspora who may have chose to leave the continent for what they think is better opportunity, or maybe they are children of parents who chose to leave Africa for seeking better opportunity. You know, my ancestors didn't choose to leave. My Babu was smacked upside the head, put in a net, chained up, and put on a boat against his will. So because of that unique history, and it's not just African Americans, it's people in the Caribbean, people in South America, maybe some in Europe, but I know a lot of people in Europe are more recent um, because the Europeans kind of sent a lot of their former slaves, for lack of a better word, to like Sierra Leone and Liberia. But so because of this unique situation, you know, you can just look at me and tell I'm not of European descent. So I should be able to receive um, U.S. citizenship for permanent residency at the absolute least. I shouldn't have to wait 10 years. I shouldn't necessarily have to marry anybody. I shouldn't have to, you know, be a business investor, you know, that's, you know, spending, you know, hundreds and thousands of dollars in order to receive this benefit. I think Kenya's multi-entry visa, I think you have to leave every 6 months. So, you know, I'm not familiar with, you know, all 55 countries on the continent, but a lot of these, you know, a lot of these countries, they set up these rules when they became independent or quasi-independent from their former colonial masters. And I think that was trying to keep Mzungu from coming back in too strong and gaining the grip over everything like he once had before. But it's having a negative effect on the children of Africa. And so I spent a lot of time and effort working with two organizations. One is We Charge Colonialism, and the other one is called State 55. one's US based and one is Zambian based. We worked really hard to try to obtain the African Union passport for African diasporans. Um, the African Union passport is a passport that's given to diplomats from African countries, and they can uh, basically go anywhere throughout the continent, without a lot of red tape. However, I actually was on a large group call and had the benefit to speak to the ambassador of the African Diaspora Development Institute. Um, I'm sorry, I cannot think of the good sister's name right now, but she said, well, we would have to establish citizenship. The best route would be to establish citizenship before we could do that. And there are a lot of countries like this one, Tanzania, they don't recognize dual citizenship. Now, I've heard ways to get around that. I'm not the type of person to try to get involved in that type of stuff. I like everything to be straight, so I have no problems. So, so that's an issue. So it's like when you decide to repatriate, it's like you are going to be forced to travel because you only can stay in one country for so long before you have to leave that country to reset your visa. They call it doing the visa run. And like I said, I have no problem. I wish I could visit all 55 states. However, that's not really cost effective. If you actually come here to try to think of some type of way where you can invest, where you're trying to build something, and I have an idea in mind that I'm trying to start up a company with some friends here in Tanzania, and if I'm spending all my money and time and free time, the little free time I have traveling back and forth across the borders, that's counterproductive. So I don't know. We need to do something about that. Once I heard, one of my friends was saying we should probably go through the Congressional Black Caucus to see what they can do for us in the U.S. But I don't. I just don't know how effective they would be. Not no disrespect to them, but I'm sorry. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Congressional Black Caucus in the United States. I think a lot of them, they just, not that they're not intelligent people, but, people operate at different streams of consciousness. And I don't think they even have the awareness, the global awareness to even see the importance, to understand the importance of this if it were to be brought to them. Sorry about that. My power was worn out. I gotta plug up my laptop to make sure that it doesn't crash in the middle of this table. Sorry about that. I should have been ready, then I wouldn't have to get ready. But anyway, um, so yeah, but back to the trip, I get, I get, I get to, I get to the clinic. I have my COVID test. Very positive interactions. Well, I'll go back to Tanzania first because when I went to that clinic to get my test, I just, man, built a really good rapport with the brothers and sisters who were working at the clinic, and that was the most comfortable and familiar I've felt with Tanzanians outside of a good friend of mine and her family. So I was like, wow. And they got my test results to me very quickly. I'm not sure if that is how fast they normally operate for everybody, but it was a good experience. But back to Nairobi, positive experience there. I've been to that clinic before. Um, and so, I'm talking to the doctor about my name and stuff like that because he knows I have an African name, but I have a American accent. So we chopped it up about all of that, and I thought, and my results from that test came the same day. But anyway, so I leave there. I get in my Airbnb. Like I said, the Airbnb. I mean, I get in my Uber. The Uber was like a 3.5 hour traffic jam ride. But as I'm sitting in the back of the seat and I'm looking around, the feeling, you know how you go away, you come home, and I've had several different cities that have been my home. I spent the vast majority of my life in Detroit. I've spent like 7 years in DC. I've spent like 2 years in between the Atlanta and Columbus, Georgia areas, a year and a half in Louisiana. Whenever I go to these different spots, I get a feeling of home. But Nairobi, that's where I feel the most happiest. That's where I feel the most at home. Um, I, excuse me, I'm gonna have to ignore this person for a second. Sorry about that. So, I feel the absolute most at home. Um, Nairobi is my true love. I have to admit that. I didn't choose Nairobi for repatriation due to politics and costs. Even though you can find some things at a good price in Nairobi compared to the United States, a lot of the prices are the same or similar. So I wanted to live somewhere where my US dollar could stretch further. Um, and Also the politics. Kenya is very US friendly, very China friendly, very UK friendly. Um, Tanzania hasn't traditionally been that way, even though this new administration is starting to be like that. But it wasn't like that when my hero John Michael Fuli was alive. So between John Michael Fuli and Mwalumu Julius Nyerere, I just have a great respect for the history of Tanzania and its politics. And so, they basically had the most liberal rules concerning the pandemic throughout this whole fiasco. And and when I left the United States, Kenya had a rule that you had to show proof of vaccination to enter or to exit the country. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. But Tanzania has never had that throughout this whole pandemic. They have never. And I'm not saying they're not going to have that in the future, but they've never had that. So, and I'm a bit of a conservative person. I guess I would call myself a non-practicing Muslim. I have problems with Islam and Africa. However, took my Shahada some years back, and so of course I guess I'm a little what people call conservative minded, and so I do kind of like um, even though I don't believe that Tanzania is that conservative from my point of view, I still know that it's more conservative than other places, and I like that. Um, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with that. I mean, to be honest, I wish it was more conservative in some ways because I was expecting it to be more conservative when I got here. But so I love Tanzania. I love Kenya. Um, um, this is going to be my last week in Arusha, and then I'm going back to Dar es Salaam for a month. After I do my month in Dar es Salaam, I am going to um, go to the U.S., visit my family and friends there, and just kind of think about handle some business I need to handle there, and make my decision on where I am going to make my permanent home. I love Arusha, but I think if I stay in Tanzania, it'll probably be dark. I see what this Dar experience is like this month coming up. Um, but no matter where I decide to live in the world, Nairobi will always be my first love. I just absolutely, absolutely love that city. When I'm here in Tanzania, I'm a foreigner. When I am in Kenya, specifically Nairobi, you know, I'm a Kenyan. So, and that's what I like. I prefer to blend in than to stand out. Okay, so with that being said, I hope that you all find this video worthwhile. I always forget to say this, um, but please like the video, subscribe to the channel, forward to the video to people that you think might also enjoy. Share it with as many people as possible. Also, check out my Instagram uh, page. That's Team Africa Worldwide. Team Africa Worldwide. And Africa is spelled Afrika, the Swahili way. There are no C's in Kiswahili. So check that out. I put a few pictures about my whole repatriation on there, and some comments, and they give you a little bit more insight. Like I always say, I don't make these videos to try to change anybody's opinion or perspective or politics. I make these videos for like-minded people to just be inspired and know that they're not alone in the world. Because that's what a lot of YouTubers did for me. I was unable to find a lot of people in my everyday life who share my beliefs and my values. But when I went to YouTube, I found people who thought like me and were doing the type of things that I wanted to do. And so I just wanted to contribute to that process for other people. So once again, um, Asante Sana for watching. Kwaheri Kwasasa.